Hi, I'm Dean Lesner. I've been doing FoxPro development in FoxPro and Visual FoxPro going back to the product's inception. There is a tool called filer.scx. When you open it up, the title is actually File Finder. I found it to be pretty invaluable, not only for searches within a development environment, but really finding anything anywhere on my computer at any point in time, based on maybe a text string such as John Doe. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and just do a quick demo on the Filer application. And for this search, the interface allows what I would call complex wildcards. In this case, I'm going to be looking for program files within the cdeen folder or subfolders, and I'm not going to restrict it to a text search. And it comes up with a list of files. If I were to double click on one of these, it would open it up, and I could actually do some editing, which I absolutely do not want to do. So I'm going to escape out of that. Some of the other features of this are, let's see here, the named drop-down contains the most commonly used searches that somebody might want to try. The drop-down contains a list of recent folders that have been searched. The browse button just allows selecting a folder. Pretty basic stuff here. Let's do a new search just to clear everything out of there, and this information is still in there. There's a tab for text search, so I could specify some strings that I want to search for. So let's say we'll do a search for just for the word subst. Date modified, we'll just leave that at all. File attributes, I don't really care much about that. And we do a find, and it does come up with a number of files that do contain that string. Let's see here, if I double click on one, this is pretty elegant. The default file finder not only opens up the file, but it highlights the occurrence of the string, let's say the first occurrence of one of the search strings. So I think that's pretty cool. For my personal needs, the greatest feature of this tool is that it allows me to search on multiple strings and say that it contains any of those or all of those. Here's a practical case. Started on a new contract, and there really wasn't much in the way of documentation. I wanted to see when the last actual change was made to the code, and to do that I was going to have to do a search on, let's see here, a year, or let's say a year range. So I put in 202 as a search criteria, meaning if I find a comment anywhere between 2020 and 2023, then this should pick that up. I also put in search keys for the incumbent programmer's initials, and sometimes he thinks of himself as Bob, and sometimes he's more formal and thinks of himself as Robert. So I had to search on all three of those strings, and I only wanted files that contained all three of those strings, because my goal was to find only the files where he had made a modification and left a source code comment dating back to 2020. as I had mentioned, the date modified tabs and file attributes tabs are there, and that's probably pretty standard for a file search application. I don't have much need for them for the stuff I'm trying to support right now on my client's environment. But I could see where this could be very helpful if I were trying to track down let's say, notes from a text file that concerned a conversation I had with somebody named John Doe between 2015 and 2017. Okay. One last note about this tool is that in addition to filer.scx and filer.sct, there's a filer.dll. And if you don't have that registered, then you can't run this application. So at least the original version requires registration, and I would assume that it was registered automatically when people installed Visual FoxPro 5. Now, in the environment I'm working in, they have they have FoxPro for Windows 2.6, and they have VFP 7, neither of which contained the filer. And in addition to that, it's a secure environment, financial institution, very, very strict about what can be uploaded there. So I couldn't just take this application and copy it over to their environment. So since I had to create a new one from scratch, I decided I might as well customize it to my needs instead. So let's see here. Now I'm going to open up my version. There we go. And it's got some of the same features and some that aren't the same. Okay, so I have a top folder button, which works exactly the same way as the top folder button on the original filer. So I could select and change that. I'm going to bring it back to this folder. The only files that I would ever need to search through for this particular client would be program files, that means ending in PRG, menu files ending in .mpr, screen files, and when they make a modification to an SCX in FoxPro 2.6, then they generate the SPR, and so I'm catching SPR files because they're easier to read from a simple text viewer than, let's say, the corresponding SCT would be. And then query files, I'm not even sure that the client has them just yet, but why not? Okay, I've got a spot for search strings here, and I'm going to plug in a few. I know that in the files that I want to find, there's going to be a substitute T command. There's also going to be a substitute F command, and I'm going to plug in 201 as my third reference. Let me flip these around. Okay, I've got filters, pretty similar to what's already here. I'm going to filter on, I want to find files that contain all of the matching words or search strings. In the File Finder application, if you start a search, it will just keep running and running until it either finds all the files it can, or you press escape. And that's not necessarily well documented. So a first-time user might start a search and wind up watching it spin for an hour or more before a matching file shows up. Since I'm going for something a little bit simpler here, I decided that, okay, if I'm really searching for a code reference, I don't need to go crazy on it. 25 matching files would be more than enough to find what I'm looking for. But I can modify that if I need to. I could change that to 50 or even 500 if I wanted to. But for now, let's just keep it at 25. I'm going to match case, which will make the search a little bit more restrictive. And I'm including subdirectories, which means I'd be searching c:\filer, and I'd be searching its corresponding subdirectories as well. So I'm going to click search. It works pretty fast. And what I'm seeing is 4 files that contain all 3 of those strings. And over here, this line column, that's showing the line number of the first reference to one of those strings. I can't tell from that 17 whether I'm going to see 201 on that line, or substitute F, or substitute T. I only know that one of those strings will show up on line 17. And from this point, just as with the original filer, I'm just going to double click here, and that opens up this interface, which, by the way, is read-only. I decided that I didn't want a user to be able to modify code from this interface. So in this case, line 17 contains the command run substitute t:, and that's the first instance of it. So that's at line 17. We also have a run substitute f at line 22, and an instance of 2010, which would satisfy the 201 at line 23. So the lowest of those 3 values is 17, which is why 17 appears in this line. After completing a search, I could just clear individual strings with these X buttons, and I'll probably get rid of those because the reset button will clear everything. The file finder application clears just about everything, but leaves the top folder setting in place, and I might stick with that too. I'll have to give that some thought. One last perk with this version, with a customized version, is I don't need to install and or register a filer.dll on my workstation. This runs just from the command prompt in FoxPro. And I imagine I could pretty easily make it into a standalone executable. That's about it. I'll post a script of this in the comments below, and I'm always happy to get some feedback on this, suggestions for other things to do. I'm thinking the next modification I'll do is to display but ignore commented out code references when I'm bringing up a file. So the search where we saw earlier, all 3, or actually all of the references that we saw were commented out. So I'd like to make that optional, so the user has the option to go out and find the first line that is active code that makes use of a particular search string. That's it. Thank you for watching.